Have you ever walked into a room full of people, laughed at the right jokes, said all the right things, and still felt like you were watching yourself from somewhere outside your own body? Like you were fluent in a language everyone else spoke natively, but you were translating it in real time. If that feeling sounds strangely familiar, there's a chance you belong to something rare. Not rare like a fun fact you'd bring up at a party, but rare in a way that actually explains why you've spent your whole life feeling slightly out of sync with everyone around you. Psychologists have a name for this personality type, and it makes up less than 2% of the population. It's called INFJ. And today I want to walk you through what it actually means to be one, because chances are, if you're still watching, some part of you already suspects the answer. Let's start with the obvious assumption people make. When someone hears rare personality type, they picture someone strange, aloof, maybe a little cold. The reality is almost the opposite. INFJs are often the warmest people in the room, the ones who remember your coffee order, who notice when your voice changes even slightly, who somehow know you're upset before you've said a single word. There's actual psychology behind this. INFJs tend to score high in what researchers call empathic accuracy, the ability to correctly read someone else's emotional state just from subtle cues like tone, posture, or a pause in conversation. Psychologist William Ickes, who spent decades studying this exact trait, found that some people are simply wired to pick up on emotional signals the rest of us miss entirely. For an INFJ, this isn't a party trick, it's exhausting. Imagine your phone notifications never turning off. That's what a crowded room feels like to someone whose brain is constantly scanning for emotional information. Which brings us to the first real sign. INFJs feel other people's emotions almost like their own. Not in a vague, sympathetic way, but in a way that blurs the line between what they're feeling and what you're feeling. Walk into a tense room, and an INFJ will feel the tension in their chest before anyone says a word about it. This is closely tied to something called emotional contagion, first studied extensively by psychologist Elaine Hatfield, who found that humans unconsciously mimic the emotional expressions of those around them. Most people experience this mildly. INFJs experience it like a tidal wave. It's why they often need to physically leave a room to reset. Not because they're antisocial, but because their nervous system needs quiet to process what it just absorbed. The second sign is a strange contradiction that confuses almost everyone who knows an INFJ, including the INFJ themselves. They crave deep connection, but they also crave solitude just as intensely. It's not that they don't like people, it's that surface-level interaction feels like static on a radio station, while meaningful conversation feels like finally tuning in to something clear. Carl Jung, the psychologist whose original work laid the foundation for this whole personality framework, described introversion not as shyness, but as where a person draws their energy from. INFJs don't avoid the world because they fear it. They retreat because connection, real connection, takes something out of them that only silence can restore. Here's the third sign, and this one tends to hit people the hardest. INFJs often feel like they're carrying a sense of purpose they can't quite name. Not a job title, not a 5-year plan, but a quiet, persistent feeling that they're meant to do something meaningful with the intensity they carry inside them. Psychologists sometimes link this to a heightened sense of what's called existential awareness, an early and ongoing preoccupation with meaning, mortality, and impact. It's why so many INFJs end up as writers, therapists, teachers, or quiet activists. They're not chasing recognition, they're chasing alignment between what they feel inside and what they put into the world. The fourth sign might be the most misunderstood. INFJs are often seen as too sensitive, when in reality, their nervous systems are simply processing more information than average, faster than average. This isn't weakness. Researchers studying sensory processing sensitivity, a concept developed extensively by psychologist Elaine Aron, found that roughly 15 to 20% of people process sensory and emotional stimuli more deeply than others. INFJs frequently fall into this group. That means loud environments, conflict, even certain lighting can feel amplified in a way that others simply don't experience. It's not fragility, it's a nervous system running on a higher resolution setting. And the fifth sign, the one that ties everything together, is this quiet, aching desire to help people become better versions of themselves. Not to fix them, not to control them, but to somehow see their potential before they see it themselves. INFJs often form intense, almost instinctive bonds with people they sense are struggling, because on some level, they recognize that same internal complexity in others. It's a beautiful trait, but it comes with a cost. It means INFJs often give more than they receive, absorb more than they release, and quietly carry emotional weight that was never really theirs to carry. So if any of this felt uncomfortably familiar, I want you to sit with that feeling instead of brushing past it. Being an INFJ isn't about being broken or too much. It's about being wired for depth in a world that often rewards speed. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw to manage. It's a lens most people don't have access to. If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments, because somewhere out there, only 2% of people will read this and finally feel understood.